Hello everyone. Today we're going to show you how to make a box plot using the basic box plot command in RStudio. So to start with, we have our data set, which is the set of exam scores from my students in a linear algebra class and how they did on their first, second midterms and their final exam. So the box plot command is very easy. It's just box plot. And then you have your data, linear grades. But when we create this box plot, we see that it has the midterm 1 grades, the midterm 2 grades, the final exam grades, which we like, but we don't want the student ID number because that data is just not useful. It's just an identifier. So we can access that by restricting the columns of our linear grades data file that we're going to access. And so we want columns 2, 3, and 4. And so the way we do that is when we have our box plot command, we do linear grades. Now, when we want to only reference 2 through 4 columns, we have brackets, comma, 2 column, colon 4. That represents we only want the second, third, and fourth columns of our data. And you can see it makes a box plot with only the data that we really want. So it's natural when you're making any kind of graph that you want to give it a title. So we need to add some features to our command. And if we want a title, we need to give it a value for main. So maybe we want to title our graph linear exam grades. And we see that it gets added as the title to our graph. Now, personally, I like horizontal box plots a lot better than vertical box plots. You may disagree, but that's another command you can change when you make your box plot call. And if you want a horizontal box plot, you add another piece to this command where you say horizontal equals true. And we get a horizontal box plot instead of the vertical one. Now, what you see here is each of those 3 box plots. You can see midterm 1, 2, and 3, and the final exam. They've just used the titles coming from our variable columns, including the underscore, and that doesn't look very nice. So we can specify the names that are used with the command names. So we can add yet another item to our lengthening command, and it's names. And so we type names equals C parentheses. This is going to give us a list of names. The first name, which we're going to pass in quotations, is midterm 1, then midterm 2, and then final exam. And now it has replaced those values from before with a nicer title that doesn't have the underscore. And you can see here that we separate each of those names by a comma, and each of them was passed as a string. So it had to go in between 2 quotations. So we couldn't just write midterm 1, we need to have it in quotations. Lastly, we see that our values on the axis here go from 40 to 100, but you might want to alter those values. Maybe you want to go from 0 to 100 because theoretically someone could have gotten a 0 on this exam. So we add yet another line to our command. And even though here it looks like it's horizontal, this is actually going to be changing the y limit. So you'll always refer to those values as the y values on a box plot, because even when you shift it to horizontal, it still refers to it as the y-axis. So we want to set the limit of the y values. And so we want them to range from 0 to 100. So we do y lim equals c 0 to 100. We press enter, and we've modified our box plot yet again. There's a lot of other ways to use a box plot and to modify it. And if you want to make a really fancy looking box plot, you're probably going to use the ggplot2 package.